Hello, this is Matt on the Moon Lambeau channel. A former SEC commissioner says that he's not impressed with Gary Gensler. He's not mincing words here. So there's this video clip that I came across thanks to attorney John Deaton. And in this thing, there are actually two former SEC commissioners. And it's just astonishing to me in listening to this. Like the more that I learn about perspectives from anybody that used to be a part of the SEC, even here's what I've noticed: even former SEC employees, when they speak publicly about whether or not there's regulatory clarity, whether or not they're specifically mentioning Ripple, sometimes they are, sometimes they aren't. But when they're talking about the idea of regulatory clarity, like when you're getting perspective from former SEC employees, what you find again and again and again is that about 100% of former SEC employees will say, yeah, there's not regulatory clarity. So it seems to be that the only people on the planet that believe there is sufficient regulatory clarity for the crypto space are SEC employees, but only SEC employees that like literally are currently working. They're not former employees and not anybody else on the damn planet. And this stands out to me. And so I want to share with you this clip that John Deaton was talking about literally just yesterday. And I actually transcribed a couple portions of this, which I think you're going to find to be quite juicy. So plenty to talk about here. Oh, also I wanted to mention this too. Charles Gasparino, who has been doing a fantastic job covering from an unbiased perspective the SEC versus Ripple case. He is not ever going to hold XRP, and I thought I'd share with you just why, because he publicly made a statement on that. But before going any further, I do want to be clear, I do not have a legal or financial background of any kind. I am not offering legal or financial advice, and you definitely should not buy or sell anything because of anything that I say or write. I'm just an enthusiast who enjoys making YouTube videos about crypto-related topics, but just as a hobby and just for fun. And so John Deaton yesterday, he retweeted something from Fox Business's Charles Gasparino, which is a link to this article which I covered pretty in depth the other day. It's this piece that literally I think it was 32 pages, and they publicly stated it took them like 2 months to put this thing together. And if you watched my video or if you read the article, you know why. They went very insanely in depth, and I'm very appreciative that they've been getting the truth, getting the word out about what's happening in the SEC versus Ripple case, because there's so much at stake here. It's so nice to see mainstream media actually covering this here. And so anyway, John Deaton retweeted that from Charles Gasparino, linking to that story, and he highlighted a couple portions from that article, which read as follows. Joseph Grunfest, a former SEC commissioner and a prominent legal academic who wrote a letter to Clayton and his fellow commissioners urging them to back down because retail investors who had purchased XRP for years would be crushed by an SEC case. The letter, which has been reviewed by Fox Business, states, quote, "The staff has articulated no material distinction between the operation of Ether and of XRP. Ether and XRP should be treated similarly. If Ether is to be allowed to trade freely in the market, so too must XRP." And so again, this is one of the former SEC commissioners, and then he wrote here, "Now listen to Grunfest," and that's where he linked to this video clip. There's also a gentleman named Dan Gallagher, also a former SEC commissioner. And so these are the people that vote on whether or not to bring any sort of legal action against a person or a business, an entity, whatever it may be. And so at any given time, there should be 5, unless there's a short-term vacancy or something like that. But there's 5 humans on the planet that decide whether or not to bring these complaints. And so here's Dan Gallagher. I'm going to share with you his perspective as well, but it's it's so freaking fascinating just thinking about how these former SEC employees of notable importance, how they're rallying around the world of crypto, and in many cases specifically Ripple. In fact, as you'll see here, Joseph Grunfest, who I'm about to share with you something they said in this clip here, he actually went on to work as a legal advisor for Ripple. And then on top of that, you have Andrew Serezny, also formerly with the SEC, he's one of the attorneys fighting the SEC in this case. You have Mary Jo White, former SEC chair. It's just like, I'm telling you, it's just crazy to see all of this here. And then you just have the few little asshats at the SEC right now who think that it is reasonable to just harm entire global markets, XRP markets, by bringing frivolous claims against the Ripple and effectively XRP holders. That's effectively what they're doing right here. And so check this out. In this video clip, there's a moderator, and he asked for Joseph Grunfest's cryptocurrency views, specifically regarding Gary Gensler and the SEC's approach to crypto regulation. And the moderator noted that earlier this year, May 6th, Gensler said that Congress needs to address crypto regulation. And so, look, I've long said that Congress absolutely can rein in the SEC because they're the ones with the ultimate power. They get to say who's in charge of what, and to a certain degree, could obviously facilitate how things move forward in terms of coming to regulatory clarity in the United States regarding crypto here. And so how do you get Congress to do what you want? Well, if you're in the world of crypto, lobbyists, seriously, lobbyists, there's not enough of that right now. Ripple's been one of the heavier participants when it comes to putting some money down into lobbying, and Coinbase has really been stepping things up. I think they're recognizing the importance of this as well, but this is true. And so Gary Gensler, he actually did go to Congress, and he was kind of saying, hey, you do your job too effectively. And so Joseph Grunfest had an interesting take on this, and he's not too impressed, as you'll see. Here's what Joseph Grunfest said. Gensler's request for legislation, the way I read it, was a massive cry for help, because I don't think the SEC really knows what to do with this situation in terms of the job of having to write regulations. Commissioner Peirce, she has her proposals, but the probability that it would get critical mass at the agency is not huge, and I think quite wisely, Chairman Gensler is saying, look, we need help from our bosses, and our bosses here are Congress. So Congress, you tell us how you want us to handle this. And so let me just pause to note here. He's referencing current SEC Commissioner Hester Peirce, who is very well known in the world of crypto. And she has proposed a safe harbor law, which would allow for basically the adoption of cryptocurrency. Because frankly, outside of implementing the safe harbor proposal, I don't know how you get to a position where in the United States you can legally launch any cryptocurrency. I don't know if there's an exception, if there would be an exception that maybe I'm just not thinking of. But pretty much everything that is a cryptocurrency, as far as the SEC is concerned, it's an uncompliant security, basically. And so without having some sort of safe harbor where you can go from having what would, from the beginning, of course, be a centralized cryptocurrency, give it time, 3 years, according to Hester Peirce's safe harbor, 3 years to go from centralized to decentralized, because if you don't allow for that, then the answer is no, in the United States you can't create cryptocurrency. That's pretty much it, because there's no path forward. You need to recognize that there is such a thing as converting from centralized to decentralized. And even Bitcoin used to be 100% centralized. Think back to when Satoshi Nakamoto launched this and had 100% control over the damn thing. So even Bitcoin went from centralized to decentralized, and we could debate the degree to which it's decentralized, but to be fair, of course, it is, right? Anyway, Grunfest continues here. In the interim, I'll be very candid. I'm not impressed with the job that the SEC is doing in this space. And by the way, in full disclosure, I'm an advisor to Ripple in the XRP litigation, so I just want everyone to know about this. So in my view, this is not the set of issues that should be solved in litigation. These are issues that you need to face, and you need to address the regulation. It's been a battle at the agency for decades over the notion of regulation through litigation. And this, I think, is one of the best examples of a case that's inappropriately litigated, when instead the matter should be dealt with thorough rulemaking. Because you litigate this stuff and you're not getting going to get any guidance for the market. Exactly. And so then he went on to explain, you're not going to get any sort of real guidance for the market, even by suing Ripple specifically, because there are too many specific facts of the case that are unique to just these exact circumstances. And so trying to glean something from that, if you're any other operator in the space, whatever your position is, whether you're an exchange or you're launching your own cryptocurrency, whatever it may be, good luck figuring it out. And that's what Grunfest is saying here. And from his experience, he says this problem goes back decades, even before the cryptocurrency asset class existed. Even before that, he says that the SEC would regulate through enforcement. So apparently this has been a bigger problem for some time. It's just part of the culture there. Is they just get sue happy, because why the hell not? It's better than figuring stuff out, right? And then Dan Gallagher, this other SEC commissioner, and I think he was from, I believe he said 2011 to 2015, if I'm not mistaken. But he seems to mostly agree with what Joseph Grunfest had to say. And he actually did have some sympathy for Jay Clayton, former SEC chair, walking into a situation where there are a ton of fraudulent ICOs. However, and this is the interesting part, though, and I think he was just being friendly and political with, friendly and, I don't know, how do you want to word it? It seemed to me, and maybe I could be wrong, but it seemed to me like he wanted to stay on the friendly side while doing the best to share his opinion. I'll just word it like that. But he did go on to state that Jay Clayton and the SEC's approach left us with, quote, the lack of a discernible regulatory construct, end quote. The lack of a discernible regulatory construct. I'm telling you, folks, the only people on the planet that say there's sufficient regulatory clarity in the crypto space are people that work at the SEC today. Because that's the official policy. Outside of that, even former SEC employees, and these are SEC commissioners, like, nope, this don't make no damn sense. There's two of them right there. And there's two active ones, too. Eli Roisman and Hester Peirce. They also clearly don't think this makes sense, even though they technically won't cite specifics having to do with the Ripple case. If you listen to them, you know they don't think this makes any damn sense. And then, like I said, there's also Andrew Seresny, and there's Mary Jo White, former SEC chair. It's just ridiculously fascinating. And then here's another quote from Dan Gallagher, former SEC commissioner. The industry is owed a properly regulatory construct. The industry is owed a proper regulatory construct. That's what it is. Everybody knows there isn't regulatory clarity. That's why I keep thinking it's like anybody with half a brain, if you come in unbiased, you're going to come to the same damn conclusion that the rest of us do, which is why when I look at what's happening with this case, and I think, and I recognize the judge is, so far as I can tell, truly unbiased, just wanting to get to the heart of the matter, I don't know how a rational person could come to any other conclusion. It's clear that the SEC's full of garbage here. So, be interesting, continuing to see how this goes. Now, I wanted to mention one more thing just because I found it fascinating before wrapping up this video. There's an XRP community member who tagged Charles Gasparino on Twitter and wrote, "The question is, Charles Gasparino, now that the XRP army has opened your eyes to the power of XRP, do you own any?" And Charles Gasparino responded with the following, "Answer, none, or I won't be able to cover the story." And so, to me, that's what I would have expected his answer to be. It's nice that he was open and transparent and sharing that. But if you're coming from the position of I'm unbiased, if you own an asset that's being attacked by the SEC, you can't really, with any sort of sufficient credibility, do your job then. And so he's being a journalist first, totally respectable. So I don't mind that one little bit. Although I do feel a little sorry that he's not going to get to experience the insane bull run, which I believe is coming anyway. But that's a different topic here. And so attorney John Deaton retweeted that from Charles Gasparino and wrote the following. "Journalism ethics prevents a journalist from owning a digital asset that he is reporting on, but SEC enforcement lawyers could have owned that same asset at a time those enforcement lawyers are prosecuting executives for selling to exchanges who could have sold to those same lawyers. Exactly. And so I've talked about that before. I just thought it was a brilliant opportunity John Deaton took advantage of there to highlight that. And that is a point that I've talked about before. Nothing was preventing these lawyers at the SEC from holding XRP themselves. So anyway, I'll go ahead and wrap up there. Let me know what you think below, but I find all of this fascinating. I know you do too. That's why you're here. We got a lot in common here. We've got similar interests. I'm not a financial advisor. You should not buy or sell anything because of anything that I say or write. That would be a very, very, very bad idea. Until next time, to the moon, Lambo.